firms, supporters, board and staff members of the National Law Center on Homelessness and Poverty. It is an honor to be here tonight to commemorate the 19th Annual McKinney-Vento Awards and the Law Center's 28 years of high-impact litigation and advocacy to protect the rights of individuals experiencing homelessness. Tonight, we give recognition to those outstanding individuals and organizations that have advanced solutions to ending homelessness and poverty across the nation. This ceremony pays tribute to two outstanding leaders, Congressman Stuart B. McKinney and Bruce F. Vento. Now, this evening is extra special, as this year marks the 30th anniversary of the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act. In 1987, taking it back a little bit, the late Congressman Stuart B. McKinney was a primary sponsor of this landmark legislation providing federal assistance to Americans experiencing homelessness. The Stuart B. McKinney Homeless Assistance Act was the first and is still the only major federal legislation addressing the issues of homelessness. It's a big deal. Now, the late Congressman Bruce F. Vento worked in partnership with Stuart B. McKinney and served as one of the original authors of the McKinney Act. After his untimely death, the legislation was renamed the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act in recognition of Congressman Vento's work, championing legislation to help homeless individuals become self-sufficient. Now, 28 years ago, Maria Foscarinis had the vision and foresight to create an organization that would ensure homeless individuals would receive the benefits that were promised to them under the McKinney-Vento Act, legislation that she helped to draft and promote. Now, Maria and her staff have continued to advocate for additional measures beyond this legislation with the ultimate goal of ending homelessness. The Law Center, as it has grown under Maria's direction, has remained ever vigilant, monitoring the implementation of the Act, going to court to protect the rights of homeless individuals, and successfully advocating for new legislation to end and prevent homelessness. Now, the Law Center is continuously innovative in its advocacy and has led the way through many critical issues, such as the lack of available and affordable housing for homeless individuals, an issue that the Law Center has worked tirelessly to combat. Since 1985, Ms. Foscarinis has advocated for solutions to homelessness at the national level. Back then, she had a high-powered career in New York City, my hometown, as a litigator at Sullivan & Cromwell. But she left the Big Apple for Washington, D.C. to mount a campaign for a federal response to homelessness when it was becoming a national crisis. Maria, she continues to be a visionary, taking on new issues, leading to victories such as winning a new federal law to protect tenants from eviction and potential homelessness in the recent foreclosure crisis, and also adopting new strategies such as advocating for the human right to housing within the U.S. where others may have folded due to governmental pressure. Maria has, for the last 28 years, persisted to find a solution, improving the lives of countless individuals. And I do have to say, she's the kindest lady. I spoke with her after I had already said yes to be here at this event, and she explained all of the hard work that they've been doing for so many years and all of the work that they want to do. And I said, you know what, sign me up for the next 50 events. I'll MC anything you want. I'm there. Honored to have a true visionary here with us tonight. So please give a warm welcome to Maria Foscarinis.
Thank you so much. I should have reviewed those remarks first, but thank you so much for that very kind and generous introduction. And thank you, Stephanie, so much for your work and for being here with us tonight. We really, really appreciate it. It's inspiring to be here with all of you in this room, and I'm so grateful. First, a big thank you to the host committee and especially to Dwight Fettig, our tireless host committee chair. Under Dwight's leadership, the host committee raised 90% of our goal, and they're not done yet. Thank you. Thank you also to our board for your leadership and support. And I'd like to ask the committee members and the board members to please stand and be acknowledged. And of course, we have a brilliant, hardworking, and dedicated staff, without which this organization could not do its work, and I'd like to acknowledge them and ask them to stand as well. And special thank yous to our Justice Builder and Justice Leadership Circle sponsors, the San Francisco 49ers, Simpson Thatcher, Simpson 49ers fans here, Simpson Thatcher, Jeffrey and Kendra Symes, Bruce and Lori, Leighton Rosenblum, Latham and Watkins, Porterfield, Fettig and Sears, and Bank of America. More of our sponsors are in the program booklets. Please take a look. Collectively, you make our work possible. Thank you all for your support. Thank you also for being here tonight. I founded the Law Center in 1989 to use the power of the law to end and prevent homelessness. And that's what we do at the Law Center every single day. We work to make sure that homeless children have access to school and that they have a chance for a better future. We protect housing rights for domestic violence survivors so they don't have to choose between being abused and being homeless. We challenge laws that punish people simply because they're homeless. And we work for laws that protect the human right to housing. Each year, we leverage millions of dollars in donated legal services. Homelessness in America doesn't have to be. We know the solutions. What we need is the political will to put them in place. And that's the work that we started so many years ago with those courageous leaders, Congressman Stuart McKinney and Bruce Vento. And tonight we honor their legacies and we honor the 30th anniversary of the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act, the first major federal law to aid and protect homeless Americans. Thanks to that landmark aid and the work we've done since then, millions of people are helped every day. But our work is far from over. Just yesterday, Freddie Mac released a report that showed that a loss of over 60% of housing affordable to low-income families from 2010 to 2016. So tonight we celebrate our successes, but we also gather the energy and the resources for the work ahead. I want to share just a few highlights, 3 highlights of our current work. We've launched a new campaign called Housing Not Handcuffs. Many cities around the country are criminally punishing people who are homeless for sleeping, sitting, and even eating in public places, even though they lack housing and even shelter. This is not only wrong, it doesn't work, it makes it harder to exit homelessness, and it wastes money. It costs more to criminalize than it costs to solve the problem by housing homeless people. Just last month, we won a court challenge to such a law. We've also helped receptive cities take more constructive approaches without going to court. We're happy to do it either way, whatever works. We have over 600 organizations and individuals, including public officials, that have endorsed our campaign. And we're looking for more endorsers. You can too. We'll be glad to have you. We're also helping millions of homeless children and youth by helping them go to school. Millions of homeless children and youth are homeless each year. Often they lack access to education despite the protections of the federal McKinney-Vento Assistance Act, which is often violated. We help these children get the law's protections to support their well-being now and also to give them a chance for a better future. This year we also responded to the impact of the natural disasters that affected much of the country and forced many into homelessness, and that particularly affected those who were already homeless. Many were mistreated, sometimes they were denied help altogether. We're working with a coalition of organizations to press Congress, HUD, and FEMA for equitable recovery and to prevent such mistreatment in the future. The Law Center is also helping students who were displaced by the disasters, bringing to bear our expertise and the resources of the McKinney-Vento Education title to ensure that they too have access to school. So this critical work is made possible by your support. Thank you. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce one longtime supporter, Ed Nicholas. Ed is the chair of our board of directors and a partner at Sidley Austin, a major global law firm and a major supporter of the Law Center. Ed is a co-leader of the firm's privacy and cybersecurity practice. He has an extensive practice representing clients facing complex cybersecurity, information technology, privacy, and related constitutional issues, and he's been a little busy lately. Ed is a leader in his field and has won many accolades. Most recently, the Washingtonian named Ed in its inaugural listing of best cybersecurity lawyers. But perhaps even more importantly, he has devoted countless pro bono hours to representing homeless Americans and working with the Law Center. And his work is a major reason that Sidley is a two-time recipient of the Pro Bono Council Award. Please join me in welcoming Ed Nicholas to the stage.
Thank you, Maria. It's always great to hear Maria speak. It is amazing as an attorney who's been in practice working on data breaches and things as mundane as that, to hear Maria speak and to hear her determination and commitment in light of the challenges of homelessness and her continual sense that we can get this done, this is something we can accomplish, that homelessness does not have to be. Thank you, Maria, for your leadership. You're in luck tonight. I have a very small speaking role. It is I have a very simple task in my but great honor to welcome to the stage someone extremely special to the Law Center. Someone who's special really not just to the Law Center, but people everywhere fighting to ensure that underrepresented people have a voice in the legislative process. She was an educator, an organizer, and now she's a powerful advocate on behalf of Black home patients and their families. She and her late husband, Congressman Bruce Vento, continue to be an inspiration to us all. So please give a warm welcome to a legend, Sue Vento.
Get a little nervous when somebody calls me a legend. I wonder what's next. It really is a pleasure to be here tonight, so thank you very, very much. I have to begin by saying that, first off, if you haven't figured it out in the first 15 words, I'm from Minnesota, and we talk funny. And tomorrow is a sad day in Minnesota. It was 15 years ago tomorrow that our dear friend and Senator Paul Wellstone and his fabulous wife Sheila, their daughter Marcia, 3 of his staff and 2 pilots were killed in an airplane crash. Minnesota's never been the same. And Minnesota's never been the same since Bruce died. But fortunately, we were both left the legacies of both of those men, and Sheila and the Wellstone family. And so while we grieved Paul and Sheila and Marcia and all of the deaths, we also celebrate what they gave to us. And I can't think of a better place to be tonight, both in terms of honoring Bruce's memory as well as Paul's memory. Because Paul paraphrased Eleanor Roosevelt when he said, "We all do better when we all do better." And I actually heard another variation of that quote this afternoon as I was listening to Senator Flake speak on the Senate floor. So it's, Eleanor, it's a legacy that lives on for you. I get to present tonight's first award, and I'm excited. When Senator Cory Booker first held public office as a member of the Newark, New Jersey City Council, he was living in public housing, roughing it through winters and with erratic heating and hot water, or not enough hot water. No one should have to live in such substandard accommodations, and most of us would not choose to. But Senator Booker realized early on the cruel reality so many families face when it comes to finding shelter. Senator Booker knew that his mere presence would have a positive impact on the well-being of his neighbors, and he intentionally placed himself where he was needed despite the potential risk to his own safety and comfort. Senator Booker carried these values from the City Council into the Mayor's office, only leaving his community in public housing when all tenants in the soon-to-be destroyed building were evicted. By the time Senator Booker completed his service as Mayor of Newark, there was twice as much affordable housing in that city. Just up the hill from here, Senator Booker continues his work for economic justice. His work to ensure every child has adequate access to education is but one example of his efforts. And that was an issue, where's Kirsten? Kirsten. That was an issue that was near and dear to the heart of Bruce Vento, wasn't it? And yours too. Kirsten is a wonderful friend and former staffer of Bruce's and continues to do good work. She's also a member of this board. His work to ensure every child has adequate access to education is but one example. He was instrumental in passing the Every Student Succeeds Act to strengthen the McKinney-Vento education program, which ensures that children across America, regardless of where they live, if they're experiencing homelessness or housing insecurity, they will be able to continue their education. That means so much to families. And as a former school teacher myself, I taught back in the 70s and early 80s in western Minnesota. I was stunned to see the impact of housing insecurity on families, and in particular children, who are at such a crucial time in their lives. So thank you, Senator. 2 weeks ago, Senator Booker spoke at Drew University in Madison, New Jersey, with Matthew Desmond, the Pulitzer Prize-winning author of Evicted. It's a book I haven't read yet, but I'm going to. They spoke about the eviction and housing crisis in our country, from the lack of government support in the form of affordable housing vouchers to how systemic racism makes it even more difficult to secure housing. The discussion was a serious one about the many causes of the crisis. Senator Booker ended on a hopeful note. And it's always important to do on a subject like this, but you did it perfectly. Senator Booker said, "This is not a problem bigger than us in this country. We have the capacity to solve it." And Senator Booker, you are right. We agree. We have the capacity to solve this crisis. Thank you for your lifelong commitment to justice, for affordable housing for all, for continuing the fight to ensure our children see a brighter future, and that every child, no matter their economic background, can be a part of that future. If you'll come forward. Very deep and very personal honor to present you with the 2017 Bruce F. Vento Award.
You don't know what it means to me to have this award presented by someone as extraordinary as the wife of Bruce Vento, because I learned when my father died, who was such a big symbol in my life, that death can end the life, but it can't end the love. And the work goes on. The life continues. So I just want to thank you for the incredible, generous words you've said about me, but more importantly, I want to thank you for the life you're living and the spirit you're continuing of your family. It will touch generations that are born, and I'm just in awe, so thank you very much. I wanted to say that, to the Law Center, I just want you to know that, and to your great director and all those people who make this work, please know, for my life, it's lawyers and it's legal activists that the reason why I'm standing here. Even my family, just to get to move into the home that I grew up in, we had to get activists involved. We had to get to the Fair Housing Council, who, with lawyers, set up a sting operation after my parents were told homes were sold. The white couple would come and find out it was still for sale. It ended up becoming a big legal row that included a fist fight where my father's lawyer was punched by the real estate agent when the sting operation was revealed. I hope none of you have had to take punches in your faces. But my father would never let me forget all of the activism, the engagement, and frankly, the crusading lawyers that had to be involved for my family to move in one generation from poverty in Jim Crow South to living in the middle class. And in many ways, I've tried to live my life in accordance to those blessings. I began my career as a lawyer representing tenants who were facing awful slumlords, working in clinics. I just went back from my law school reunion to go and visit the clinics where I was doing landlord-tenant law and saw the difference. You know, most Americans think that you have the right to an attorney. Well, that's in criminal cases, but we all know that the reality is you don't get them in so-called civil cases. But the jeopardy of losing housing is really a loss that goes deep into the lives of individuals, because it could be homelessness, it could be destitution, it could be being victimized, and more. And so this has been a part of my life, but what gives me hope right now is organizations like this who are continuing the fighting in the trenches. In my community of New Jersey, the same group that was there that helped my family move in, the Fair Housing Council, is still there. The head of it is still there from the 1960s. She's 91 years old, and she's still fighting the good fight. I'm the only senator in America that lives in an inner city community that's low income. I live in the central ward of Newark. I think our census tract is about $14,000 as a median income for a family in my district. And I see that our inability as a country to have housing policies that offer security to families, that we don't see fundamentally in this nation, that you cannot have access to all the things we believe is what it means to be an American. You cannot have access to them unless you have a secure and stable home. So many families who are working full-time jobs, so many families who are struggling and doing all the things we do, playing by the rules, are still at risk of homelessness and fall into homelessness all over our country. And too many people think that somehow being poor in America is not a fiscal problem, but it's a moral problem. And that is a disgusting attitude to me, especially if you live in communities like mine and you see the dignity and the worth and the value that this nation is wasting, that this nation is squandering because we're not investing in stability and security in housing. And so I want you to know that I am so inspired by this group that has the audacity to stand like great leaders have stood before, whether it was Martin Luther King right here in Washington, D.C., talking about a bold dream for our country that was achievable. Whether it's leaders from looking at the moon and saying that we are going to go there, or even leaders in difficult times like the Depression saying we have nothing to fear but fear itself, we will pull out of this as a country, believe in ourselves. This is the time in America where we need to believe in our ability to do big things again. Big things in this country can't be about how many billionaires we produce, or how tall the buildings we can build. Ultimately, a nation that understands that this country has always been built built on humble hopes and dreams of dignity. We've got to get back to understanding that the most important, boldest dream we can have in America is that every American should have economic security, should have access to health care, and should have a stable, safe, decent home. Fundamentals. And so I want to end by giving you just the words of a great person, because a lot of people are despairing right now. And a lot of people, and I'm literally going back, rushing back to my office now to get ready to vote on the most noxious CRA, devastating people's ability to hold corporations accountable for their ill deeds. But I want you to know that I am still hopeful. And even on days that I feel broken, and I will end with this, I still turn back to my experiences of living in some high-rise projects for about 8 years in New York. And I still live in that neighborhood now. But on the worst day, one of the worst days of my life, when I was walking in my neighborhood, 2004, it was April, my dad was with me visiting for my birthday, and a shooting happened, and I ended up being there as a child, literally bled to death. And I was so angry after this experience. I still remember the ambulance came up, pushed me out of the way, loaded them into the ambulance, and I knew that that kid had passed. And I still remember my dad's looking at me and seeing his son with the blood of another child on him. And I'll never forget just breaking that night. When I got home, it was one of those nights where you just try to wash your hands and your hands start shaking and you just start crying in a mixture of sadness and rage at this country, angry in America that we could allow this kind of death and destruction to go on every single day. And I remember some of you might know what I'm talking about. I just stepped into the shower, turned on the water as hot as I possibly could stand it, hoping that the pain on the outside might get rid of the pain on the inside. And that night, I slept a fitful night, got up early, went down to the lobby of my building, and went to go out. Now, I got my BA from Stanford, but I'm telling you right now, I got my PhD unofficially on the streets of the city of New York. Because some of the greatest, noblest people I've ever met, the wisest souls, happen to be low-income folk who are in the front lines of this country, fighting for the American dream.
Industry Relations at Freddie Mac, as well as the Senior Policy and Legislative Advisor at Arnold & Porter. He's busy. Very good guy. His career in politics began in 1988 when he joined the office of then Congressman Tim Johnson. While serving as the now Senator Johnson's Chief of Staff, he assisted on a wide variety of legislation, including financial services, housing, and energy policy. Please welcome Dwight Bennett to the stage.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's great to be here. I've enjoyed every minute of the opportunity I've had in the last 5 years to work with the Law Center, Maria, and all of the team. And thank you again to the host committee. I couldn't have done this without all of their help. The board, as always, steps up and helps out with this event, and it really has been remarkable. Hard to follow Senator Booker after that very powerful movie speech he just gave, but obviously one that I think is incredibly inspiring. And I want to just take a moment here to introduce our next award winner, who is equally inspiring. So thank you, Stephanie. Vernon Davis has been someone that I think has inspired people around him for his entire life. He's done that first as he was growing up here in Washington, D.C., hometown guy. And he's done that since he has made his mark in the NFL. And we all know Vernon as a star tight end, right? He had that start to his career in San Francisco. It was a wonderful Pro Bowl career. Had a chance to help the Denver Broncos win a Super Bowl and get a ring. But then we were all very fortunate here in the D.C. area because Vernon signed a contract with the Redskins in March of 2016, and he has been here now for the last year and a half and continues to be an incredibly productive player in his 12th NFL season, an age when many of the players he entered the league with have already retired. We're especially grateful that Vernon was willing to be available for tonight's award presentation after playing a game in Philadelphia just last night on Monday Night Football. So, and if any of you think you had a hard time getting out of bed this morning, think about what it felt like for Vernon to get out of bed. But for those of you who may not be aware, Vernon, this really is a homecoming for Vernon when he signed with the Redskins. He attended Truesdale Elementary School in D.C., Paul Public Charter School for middle school, Dunbar High School, where he was a 3-sport star, and a very highly recruited football player, where he then went to the University of Maryland, and not only became probably one of the best players in Maryland history, but became a number 6 overall first-round draft pick by the 49ers. But we're not just here to recognize Vernon's impressive accomplishments on the football field. Off the field, Vernon not only generously spends his own time and resources in the fight to end homelessness, he multiplies the effect of his efforts by encouraging others to give of themselves. After experiencing a night of sleeping on the street as part of a fundraising event for a homeless service organization, Vernon volunteered to spearhead a kickoff event for the following year's Sleep Out. His kickoff event, called Vernon's Closet, collected clothing and canned goods for homeless people. His positive influence extends to the next generation with the Vernon Davis Foundation for the Arts. His foundation encourages children to explore creativity and dream big, giving kids from disadvantaged backgrounds a space to grow and learn about the arts. Through this work, Mr. Davis is contributing to the social development of a generation that will someday use its powers of creativity to tackle huge issues, such as homelessness, even though we hope homelessness will soon be a thing of the past. Mr. Davis, thank you for your passion for nurturing the future of our society, for your commitment to combating homelessness. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to present the 2017 Stuart B. McKinney Award to Vernon Davis.
Big feet. For all of my Dallas fans out there, you guys can boo me now. Get it out of the way. This is awesome. This is awesome. It's a pleasure to be here. Gosh, I'm trying to figure out where do I start. This is awesome. I'd like to thank the National Law Center. I'd like to thank the McKinney-Vento Committee. Also like to thank the Washington Redskins for bringing me back here to Washington, D.C. Yeah, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here tonight. So I'm elated to just share, this experience with them and my family and my friends. And I'll cherish this moment for the rest of my life. I remember when I was a kid, I vividly remember, walking to the grocery store with my grandmother, and we would see the homeless on the streets. And she would always tell me, she's like, they're angels from heaven. Like, what do you mean, Mom? What do you mean? They're angels from heaven. From that day, it started to resonate with me. I started to be more grateful for everything that I had. And as I continued to go on, throughout my career, from college, getting drafted as the 6th pick in the first round, I was more grateful. And I remember what my grandmother used to always tell me. I remember her words, "They're God's angels from heaven." And since then, I didn't look back. I said, no matter where I go, whether it's San Francisco, whether it's Denver, I'm going to try to make a difference. I'm going to give back. Because I'm very appreciative of everything that I've been given. All of the success and everything. It really doesn't matter. None of that really matters if you're not giving back. If you're not giving back, then what does it mean? Life is all about helping each other. It's all about helping each other. Go from point A to point B in the most positive way possible. So I'm very, very grateful for the wonderful people that I've had in my corner, including my grandmother, over these years. I wouldn't trade it for anything in this world. Thank you all. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Davis. We really appreciate that. And again, congratulations to Senator Booker as well. As we've just heard, their words and their deeds are incredibly inspirational. And to everyone in this room, I hope they've inspired you to help make a difference as well. You'll notice that on all of the tables, we have pledge cards and envelopes. And I know a lot of you are here because your firm, your corporation, friends of yours may have been fortunate enough to sponsor a table. But for those of you who are here because of that reason, and you may be so inclined to make a personal contribution to the Law Center, we would be incredibly grateful for any help you can give us. For those of you who have maybe already given personally, we ask that you please consider maybe an additional pledge to support this important work that you've heard about. The Law Center will count this money raised, and we will certainly make sure that we let everybody know if we have made it to our goal, because we are really, really close to our goal, which is, by the way, $275,000 that we are hoping to raise, and we are very close at this point. So anything we raise tonight in the room, we're hoping can put us over the top and maybe even let us surpass that goal. Let me just give you, as you're thinking about being able to help the Law Center, let me give you a couple of quick examples of what your pledge and donation helps with. And by the way, just real quick, if you haven't seen them, the card is right there on your table. For every $2,500 that the law firm raises, the legal support to local partners helps protect people from being arrested simply for being homeless. For every $1,000 we raise, school district leaders are being trained, helping as many as 1,500 homeless students stay in school. For every $500 we raise, more than 50 advocates will be prepared and educated so that they can help keep low-income families from losing their homes due to eviction by protecting their legal rights. So we hope that you can give some amount here tonight to help us get to that goal of $275,000. Whatever you can do is going to be incredibly appreciated. And of course, the Law Center is a 501c3, so your contributions are fully tax deductible. If you have a pledge you'd like to make, we have volunteers who would be happy to come around and pick up your pledge card. You can certainly make a pledge and contribute later, and we will check back again later this evening. So thank you again for all of your help and support, and I'm going to turn it back over, I think, next.
So I'd now like to introduce the presenter of this year's Pro Bono Council Award, Bruce Rosenblum. He is the Managing Director and Chief Risk Officer of the Carlyle Group right here in Washington, D.C. He's the former law clerk to Chief Justice Warren Burger on the U.S. Supreme Court and practiced law for 18 years at the law firm of Latham & Watkins, specializing in mergers and corporate finance. He serves as Vice Chair of the Board of Directors of the Law Center. Let's please give a warm welcome to Bruce Rosenblum.
Thank you, Stephanie. The Law Center relies heavily on the pro bono contributions of some of the country's finest lawyers to execute its work. And the Law Center's Lawyers Executive Advisory Partners Group, which we blessedly shorten to LEAP, is really at the core of this pro bono effort. LEAP is made up of law firms and corporate legal departments that are supporters of the Center's mission to serve and protect homeless Americans and those at risk of becoming homeless. The lead firms and corporate legal departments really have first call on the Law Center's most interesting and high-impact pro bono opportunities, and they've been critical to many of the successes that we've had. This year's Pro Bono Council honoree, Simpson, Thatcher, and Bartlett, has partnered with the Law Center as a lead member for the last decade. They provided countless hours of pro bono service to helping people experiencing homelessness. And Peter Thomas, a Simpson partner, now chairs the lead group. Over the last year alone, Simpson Thatcher has been instrumental in helping the Law Center analyze the state plans required by the Every Student Succeeds Act, the latest reauthorization of the McKinney-Vento provisions. The firm has also helped us substantially in our regulatory work, including efforts to ensure that the Violence Against Women Act, VAWA, provides real housing protections to the survivors of domestic violence or sexual assault. While legislative and regulatory work might sound a little dry and abstract, there are real stories behind this work, and I'd like to tell you just one about an individual who has avoided homelessness because of Simpson Thatcher's work. Maya and her husband were refugees who came to the United States to flee a war. They qualified for and received a Section 8 housing voucher. Maya spoke limited English, and her husband used his knowledge of English as a way to control and isolate her. Her husband controlled all of the finances, and Maya had no idea that he was not paying the rent, that there was an eviction case pending against them, or that the Public Housing Authority was terminating their voucher. She did not know that her husband had already attended hearings on this and lost. She found out only when the sheriff removed her and her family from the house where they lived, and they landed in a homeless shelter. The story could have ended very differently, but Maya was able to get support from a domestic violence program, leave her abusive husband, and apply for another Section 8 voucher. And when that Section 8 voucher was denied because of her history of termination, her local legal aid lawyer was able to point to VAWA and the regulations protecting victims of economic abuse. Because her termination was a direct result of her abuse, legally the Public Housing Authority could not hold it against her. And it issued her a voucher, and she is housed today. Now Maya is a real person, and that story is true, except that I've changed her name to protect her privacy. But unfortunately, this is not an isolated incident. It's a rather common problem. The VAWA housing protections prevented homelessness for more families this year than we can count. The fact is that we know what causes homelessness. We know how to prevent it. When we're able to put that knowledge into the law, whether it's via litigation or public policy work, we can truly change thousands of lives. From all of us at the Law Center, but also from Maya and the many others who have housing today because of their help, we thank Simpson Thatcher for its outstanding pro bono efforts. So it's my honor to present the 2017 Pro Bono Council Award to Simpson Thatcher and Bartlett for their unceasing support, leadership, and willingness to advocate on behalf of those experiencing homelessness and poverty. Accepting the award on the firm's behalf, please welcome to the stage Simpson Thatcher partner and fellow Law Center board member, Rajiv Chanda.
Thanks, Bruce, for those kind words. Talking about the story about Maya, that's something that the corporate team at Simpson Thatcher did. I think most people think of corporate, when they think of corporate lawyers, they think that we don't really know much about the law. Skills. I'm not going to disabuse you of that, but I guess there are times, it is nice to be able to do things like that from time to time with those skills, such as they were. Thank you very much to the Law Center. Thank you again to Bruce for this tremendous honor. I accept this on behalf of the partners of Simpson Thatcher and all of our lawyers who've worked on Center's matters. Public service is deeply ingrained in the culture of our firm and has been for over 125 years. Our lawyers believe that everyone should have access to legal services to protect their rights, and that low-income communities shouldn't be denied benefits and services that they deserve just because they don't have access to lawyers who navigate complex legal systems. While our firm's commitment to pro bono work has always been strong, it wouldn't be possible without partnerships such as the one we have with the National Law Center and Maria and Janet and her team. We have been a pro bono partner and supporter of the Law Center for, as Bruce said, about a decade. We've been members of the LEAP program. We've been several members of our firm have been members of the board long before I've been on the board. In 2017, as Bruce mentioned, we did work on the VAWA stuff, but we also worked on reviewing state education plans to ensure the compliance with McKinney-Vento so that homeless children and youth have access to education that's mandated by federal law. We have reviewed 17 state plans over the past year, and that's being done by a team of ours in New York who are here with us tonight. I think that's ultimately what demonstrates the strong commitment we have to the Law Center is the breadth of the geography and practice area and all the different opportunities we get to work with the Law Center on so many different important, crucial matters for the benefit of the homeless population in our country. We're grateful for the tremendous work that you do. We're proud to be a part of it, and we love the opportunity to provide our attorneys with meaningful pro bono opportunities. We view this relationship as one of our most important ones, and we're proud to be associated with it. So once again, I feel privileged to be able to stand here tonight, accept this work on behalf of our lawyers, of whom I'm very proud, and I appreciate your recognition of the firm. Thank you very much.
Research has shown that homeless children are sent back farther every time they change schools. Now, McKinney-Vento is the law that says a child who is experiencing homelessness must be permitted to stay at the same school, and that the state or school district provide transportation. Now, even though this law has been around since 1987, compliance with it remains a problem for many school districts across the country. And this problem is exacerbated by the fact that many individuals and families, including school personnel, remain uninformed about the law. For families with very limited access to legal resources and legal counsel, forcing a school district to comply with the law could be very, very, very challenging. Tonight, we're honoring a parent who successfully changed her son's school district's policy, bringing it into compliance with the federal law. The McKinney-Vento Personal Achievement Award is an award given to honor an individual's accomplishments and service to those still experiencing homelessness. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce you to this evening's awardee, Juanita Rocha. You'll hear from her very shortly, but I wanted to take a moment and tell you why we're giving her this award. Ms. Rocha was born and raised in Laredo, Texas. She is a single mother of 5. Myra, Cassandra, who's actually here tonight with us, Liliana,